What we're going to be focusing on is how to make AI work for you. A quick question for everyone. In the last month, who's used an AI like ChatGPT? Oh, almost everyone. That you? Who has watched Netflix or any other streaming service? So, in fact, everyone who's watched Netflix has used AI in the past couple of weeks or month, because services like Netflix, your social media, weather patterns, and even finance all already use AI and have been using AI for the past decade to give you things like recommendations and help you understand what might come next through predictive capabilities. What we're going to talk about today, hey, thanks for joining us. What we're going to talk about today is a new type of AI called generative AI. First, and by the end of this conversation, after this conversation, I would like for everyone, if you haven't, it sounds like most people have already used an AI chat, but to try an AI chat and then to invite AI to the party. What I mean by this is whenever you have an actual birthday party, you can use AI to help you plan ideas for it. If you have an email that you need to write, you can invite AI to it. These common day-to-day tasks and things that kind of fill your head, think about inviting AI to it and see how it might work for you. You'll find sometimes it'll actually be almost magical, where it kind of knocks it out of the park and gives you exactly what you want. Sometimes it's going to let you down. And what I encourage you to do is to continue the conversation with it. Keep inviting it, keep learning how it works, where it's useful for you and not. So a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of a company called Cosmo AI, where we help small and medium businesses adopt AI. I have over 14 years of experience, where I first started as a business analyst in oil and gas. And then I became an interactive producer in advertising. And then I became a product manager in tech. Over the last half of my career, I've been working with AI to help build hardware and software experiences. In 2023, my position at Google was closed. My entire research and development team was let go. And this was when generative AI was kind of starting to boom. And this was January. So ChatGPT had just come out a few months before. And I went down that rabbit hole. And I got to a point where I asked myself, how will my kids use generative AI when they grow up? And the answer to me was very clear, that it's going to be woven into their everyday. It's going to be in the technology in their phones. It's going to touch their education. And it could even serve as a companion. As scary as it sounds, it's already happening today. So I wanted to become a leader in this space, not only for myself, but for my family, my community, and anyone else who's interested, to help them understand how AI works and how to take advantage of it today and be prepared for the future. So today we'll go through, what is AI? Why does it matter? How do I approach AI? How do I use it better? And how do I make it a habit? So starting with, what is AI? AI, or artificial intelligence, refers to the computer science discipline that focuses on teaches machines on how to think and act like humans. So the goal is to have a machine to reason, to learn, to act autonomously. So this means the machine can understand spoken word, recognize your face, book you the best value flights and hotels for your next vacation. I'm not ready for it to make those decisions for me, but I know a day soon it will find better deals than I can. AI has been around since the 50s. In 1950, Alan Turing published a piece called Computing, Machinery, and Intelligence. It was the first time where somebody thought about the idea of a machine mimicking a human. In it, he proposed the Turing test, that essentially has a human interact with two things, a human and a machine. And the test is to see if the machine can fool the human into thinking that it's a human. This test alone has inspired a lot of sci-fi. A lot of movies that you've seen are based on this concept of the Turing test. He's also the same Turing that did the Enigma machine. So if you've seen the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, I think that's his name, the Enigma machine helped crack the Nazi code and helped the Allies win World War II. And in 1956, the term AI, or artificial intelligence, is coined by John McCarthy at MIT. In the 60s, the first chatbot appeared. It was called Eliza. It was a psychotherapist designed to ask you questions, get responses, and help console you. It wasn't very aware. It didn't really have any understanding. It was just having scripted responses to something that it felt like was appropriate. It was a pioneering breakthrough, but it did not meet any expectations of general public use. And so over the next 30 or so years, there would be some sort of technical innovation, but it would never meet the expectations of people. AI would ebb into the background, and these are called AI winters. In the late 90s, it kind of started to have a resurgence when AI finally beat a chess grandmaster. It was a big moment, but it was only good at chess, so it wasn't really applicable to everyday life. Then in the 2000s, this concept of machine learning came about. This is when a new way of teaching a machine. And you can think about it the same way that you teach students through experience. Instead of programming every single rule into the machine, it would give people, the researchers would give it data, and the machine would interpolate the rules from the data that it gets. So over time, the computer learns patterns to make predictions and decisions, like giving you recommendations on Netflix. So let's say you like Love is Blind. So the Netflix algorithm is going to monitor how long you watch each episode, whether you watch them back to back, other shows that you may watch. This is called data collection and analysis. And then if you fully watch each episode and you continuously watch these episodes and you watch other reality TV shows, it's going to conclude that you enjoy high drama romance TV shows. This is called the prediction. So the next time you turn on Netflix, you're going to see Too Hot to Handle. This was really hard to find a photo that wasn't like absolutely insane of like half naked people. But this is called the recommendation. So over time, you and many others that are watching Netflix are continuing to give them data so they can better understand your behaviors and be able to better serve you content that it thinks you're going to watch and finish. So this type of predictive capability was adopted into almost every industry. Finance, weather, travel, social media, anything that's serving you some sort of recommendation is already using AI. And while it's particularly good at giving you the next show, a lot of these AI applications fell short when they encountered scenarios outside of what they've been trained on. So my own foray into AI started in 2016 when I joined Google ATAP. This is Advanced Technology and Projects. This is a research and development division of them that was closed, as I mentioned earlier. But here we were using machine learning to better understand how to interact with computers. Our first projects looked at integrating sensors into jackets with Levi's, into backpacks with YSL and Samsonite. So we used machine learning to be able to tell when you brushed up on the cuff of your jacket, you could answer a phone call. Double tap on the strap of your backpack, you could drop a pin and remember this location. We also created a very small sensor that can be put into the sole of a shoe. With this, we released this with Adidas and alongside FIFA for a gaming initiative. We used machine learning to know when you ran, how far, how fast, when you passed, how many shots you took, how fast were your shots, so that as you play soccer in the real world, your digital soccer team could level up. You would complete challenges, and your FIFA mobile team would get stronger and stronger. Next, we got into the world of radar. Radar is a sensor that sees motion. It doesn't see like a camera does. It sees things moving in the environment. And we used machine learning to understand when somebody's in the room, when somebody's waving, heartbeat and respiration rate. We put radar into the Pixel 4, into the Nest thermostat, the Nest Hub. In the Pixel phone, with radar, it would understand when you're nearby, when you're reaching towards the device, whether you're swiping above the device to change a song, snooze an alarm. In the thermostat, it would know when you're in the room, and when you're away, it would turn itself off. On the Nest Hub, you could also have music control, but the neat thing here, you can also track your sleep. The radar sensor would track your respiration throughout the night, combine it with other sensors like light and audio, and give you a sleep score in the morning. This was novel because you didn't have to wear anything. You just go to sleep and it tracks you. And one of the best things that I loved was you could wave to Pikachu. This is one of my favorite things that we did. This was all powered by AI, and it was all behind the scenes. Nobody really understood how it worked or why it worked. It just did. In 2017, Google researchers published a paper called Attention is All You Need, where they introduced the concept of what's called a transformer, and it helped computers better understand how humans communicate. And I'm not talking about this transformer, even though this is one of the best Halloween costumes I've ever seen. We're talking about a transformer that has an encoder and a decoder. At a very high level, a transformer will take a sentence like, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" and encode each word or part of a word into what's called a token. Each token has a series of numbers in it. Think of these numbers as coordinates on a map. And what these numbers translate to is a relational space of the human language. Words that have similar meaning and context will be grouped together. This is what allows the model to understand your intent and context and how to respond back to you. What this actually looks like, this is the phrase, "Why did the chicken cross the?" vectorized into an array. This is what it looks like. And it goes on for like twice as long as this. And this is just from these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. So all of these coordinates end up in a 3D space of relational words. So here, if somebody asks for the word kitten, it's going to be related to the word cat. If you ask about apples and bananas, it's going to be related to the subject of fruits. Tomatoes would be in there too. Tomato is a fruit. Changed my mind. Okay, quick exercise. I was going to have everyone stand up, but you're all eating. If you have access to your phone or laptop, take out your phone and go to chatgpt.com. Yeah, you're ahead of the game. Yeah, use Copilot too. Either or. Yeah. Give it the prompt, complete this sentence. Why did the chicken cross the, and then hit enter.
Exactly like that, with the colon and everything.
You can do it whatever way you want. That's the beauty of these models, is that it'll still understand what you're looking at. You can even misspell some things. So I'm guessing most people got road. And it gave you back the entire sentence. Why did the chicken cross the road? Question mark. And it may have even given you a joke to complete the sentence. It generated this all on its own. When the large language model replies to you, it is replying to you one word at a time. It's computing the most probable next word to give you. That's why road is the most probable word to give you in almost all cases, because this is a very famous or well-known joke. So a large language model is basically a very elaborate autocomplete system. That's all it really is. And some would even say, when we talk to each other, we're just trying to think of the next best word every time we're communicating. We're just doing it so fast we don't even realize it anymore. So the real question is, are we all just AI? Maybe. This could all be a simulation, but who knows? Let's try a different sentence. If you still have ChatGPT open, do this. Complete this sentence. The alien crash landed on Earth, and then, if you liked your response, would anyone be willing to share it?
Explore the surroundings.
So,
and it's also writing the code.
Is Copilot?
Copilot, which is
right. So the second half of this has almost an infinite number of possibilities. So maybe sometimes you'll get the same answer, but it's pretty rare. When we'll talk about the more business AI applications next week, there's a thing called temperature in large language models, where it's a scale of 0 to 1. You can control how creative or how repetitive the answer will be. Normal agents or normal chats are pretty in the middle. They're going to be pretty creative. So it's very rare you'll get the same answer. So a large language model is really what we call generative AI, or something that can generate new content based on patterns it's learned from the data that it has. And a large language model is a generative AI that creates new text. It's called text-to-text generation. Based on the text that you give it, it will create something new. And a large language model is trained by having it read, quote unquote, data, which is written content like Wikipedia, news articles, famous books, any written source. And the more data that it has, the better it becomes. The concept of emergent capabilities was observed. When the model has more data to work with, it will come up with new rules for itself on its own. Parameters here, you can think of this as words. So 540 billion words. And what this is showing is that at 62 billion, it can do summarization. But at 540 billion, it can do joke explanations. No one taught it, this is how you explain jokes. No one taught it the concept of jokes. It learned this on its own. And the weird thing is, nobody can really explain it. Another example. Guess a movie from an emoji sequence. Here, this is a bit of a complex graph, but all you have to worry about is this is about 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion. At 1 billion, the larger language model will almost never guess the right movie. At 10 billion, it can kind of guess after a few tries. At 100 billion, it will get it right very often. Nobody taught it that this girl and 3 emojis represents Finding Nemo. Nobody taught it that 2 superheroes and 3 kids represents The Incredibles. But this is an emergent capability that it learned. Since 2017, generative AI has grown to do more than create new text. It can create video, images, code, music. There's also 3D models. It can create a lot of stuff. This is just a few of the tools that correlate to each one of these. There's a lot of stuff coming. There's one from OpenAI called Sora that it's not available to the public yet, but I think just last week I watched a music video where the entire music video is generated in Sora. And it's shockingly good. You can still tell it's generated by AI. You can see the patterns that it's matching over and over, but it's pretty good. I actually recommend everyone to check out Udio or Udio. This is really fun. I spent like an evening playing with this. It was really fun. It will basically, you tell it a song to create and even like what the song is about. So, and it will create a demo tape basically for you. And the quality is pretty shocking. So you can say Dire Straits song about giving a presentation about AI, and it will actually make something about you or make something for you. The lyrics will make some coherent sense, which is crazy, and it's shockingly good. I recommend everyone try it out later. Why does all this matter? We can generate new things. People are saying that generative AI has the potential to become a general purpose technology. These are technologies that can affect an entire economy, nation, or the entire world. And they also spawn new innovations and inventions. Here's the greatest hits. Stone, fire, gunpowder, steam engines, airplanes, internet. These are all general purpose technologies that have impacted our lives, our society, our world. And generative AI is the next one. Generative AI is a little bit different though, because of the rate of adoption or why people find it valuable and how often they use it. The internet came out in about 1969 as ARPANET. And it wasn't until the late 90s that it really started to have an impact on society. And even in the 90s, people didn't quite understand it. I think there's a famous like YouTube video of like newscasters talking about the internet in the 90s. And even in 2000s, it was just getting started. Now, the difference with generative AI is that in 2 months, it had 100 million monthly active users worldwide for something that had never existed before. The only thing that's beaten it is Threads, but most of these people came from Instagram, so it's kind of cheating. But you can see that this was a very novel thing that people adopted very quickly. We see a race of companies trying to adopt AI, and like any good old digital transformation, it's really hard. Next week, we'll get into why it's so hard and how to approach it. So everyone is making the claim that AI is going to make you more productive. The estimates range from 20 to 80% more productive. I'm a big believer of this. AI really helped me make this presentation. And why do we want to be more productive? So we can be even more productive. So this guy now has an external monitor. He didn't have that before. He just had one. Now he has charts up everywhere. He's gotten younger. His hair is longer. He doesn't have time for a haircut because he's so productive. So I generated these images. And when I was working on this, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. So I said, okay, let's make him 100x more productive. Go all out. Boom. If that isn't productivity, I don't know what is. Maybe Apple is right. All we need is an Apple Vision Pro and we'll be so productive. But I know what you're thinking. What if we go into the future? Let's take it beyond the future. Let's make him the tsar of productivity. Now, this word tsar is very important because this will vastly change the tone and the final product. Really give it your all. Now we see productivity and opulence because I gave him the word tsar. And this is in the future, right? Now I know what you're thinking. You need to go more. You need to go further. Give me the god of productivity. Here's the image of the man as the god of productivity, portrayed as a celestial and transcendent office setting. Now, I didn't want to stop here. I wanted it to double the essence and the power of productivity. So I just said, now multiply it by 2. What does it give me? 2 gods. I didn't specify what I wanted. I just said multiply by 2. A lesson here is that when you don't specify what you want with AI, it's going to interpret it and try to please you as best it can. So here it thought I just wanted 2 gods. No, my friend, I want you to multiply the productivity and the powers by 2. Now, here's the epic depiction featuring 4 half Asian men as gods of productivity. The original prompt I put half Asian because I'm half Asian and I love to see what it comes back with. It does a very poor job with mixed races. Each in their own grand celestial. But it says 4. Is one of these not half Asian? I don't know. But there's something else wrong with this photo. There's 5. But do you think our gods are all half Asian? Whoa, don't you think it's a bit biased to show only male gods? You make a great point, it says. So I ask it, generate a version that you think is least biased. Here's a more inclusive depiction featuring diverse gods of productivity, with 2 men, 1 woman, and 1 non-binary individual. These little ticks and tacks, these are called hallucinations. Where it's at 4, there's actually 5. Here it says a non-binary individual. Maybe these beings of light are non-binary, but there's still 2. A bit of a hallucination. There's still something wrong with this. That's right. I went back and I edited my prompt. This is a very useful technique for you to use in your everyday. Go back and change your prompt. In ChatGPT, you can edit it and you can now go down different forks. So I added the phrase half Asian male gods. It says, you're right, representation matters. Would you like to see that? Give it to me. Here's the inclusive and diverse portrayal of gods of productivity, featuring characters from various ethnicities and genders. When I saw this, I could only think one thing. Avengers. These are the Avengers. So what did I tell it? I went down a path. Give me an epic backstory to each individual. It started giving me random stories about them. I was like, I'm not happy with it. So I edited it. Make sure to keep the central theme that these are the gods of productivity. But then it only gave me 4. So I said, I see 7 entities, 2 of whom may not be human. Please give me their backstories too. It gave me 7 people, their origins, their powers, their role as a god of productivity. And one of them was a Caucasian man. Again, there was no, we can go back. I don't really see a Caucasian man here. Another little hallucination. And obviously, now that we have the Avengers, we need to have a villain. So I asked it to give me the fiercest and feared nemesis, give me Chrono the Time Eater. He was obsessed with being eternal life. And so he found a way to consume time to keep or sustain his existence. This is pretty elaborate. And this all started from me asking it to give me a photo of a man who's productive. Continuing the conversation with AI based on what you're thinking will lead you down paths you didn't really think about. And of course, I asked it to visualize this. I think if I was to go back and take all this information, you can make a comic book out of this. And you can create new content. Was I thinking about this in the beginning? No. Is it kind of a fun idea that I've thought about in my head since? Yeah, why not? So with all of this, how do we get started with AI? How do we approach AI? The easiest thing is to just go to chatgpt.com. You don't need to make an account anymore. Just go, start using it, start talking to it. You're going to learn what it's good at, what it's not. The one flag I will give you is that if you're at work or you have some sort of proprietary knowledge to you or your business, do not go to the free version of ChatGPT. Any free service that's out there, there's always a price to pay. Your data is that price. Any information you put into ChatGPT or any of the free tools are likely to take that and use it in their own future training and or evaluation. If you're working at a business, do not put your proprietary information into free tools. I pay for ChatGPT for a specific version where it says my data is not being used. And even then, I'm still a little uneasy because it's kind of hard to prove. You don't really know. People often ask me, what's the best AI? I tell them the one that feels right to you. There's a lot out there. There's ChatGPT, there's Copilots, there's Claude, there's Gemini by Google. All are a little bit different. I use actually several different AIs. I use perplexity.ai for research and fact searching. ChatGPT will make up so much stuff for you because it's just trying to please you. This tool, perplexity.ai, was specifically designed to search the web, aggregate it, and always cite its sources. You can get ChatGPT to do something similar, where you can have it search the web and cite its sources. But Perplexity is just an easier thing for me. I used it a lot in making this presentation. I use it in my everyday. I think now I use maybe 50-50 Perplexity and Google search, where if I have a question or I'm fact searching, I go to Perplexity. If I'm looking for a business, I will probably go to Google. ChatGPT for Teams, this is my workhorse. I write in it. I use it for generating templates of like new documentation, bouncing ideas off of it, and custom GPTs. Custom GPTs are essentially allowing you to create agents, and you can load your own information into them. We'll get more into that next week. Claude 3 is the latest model from them. I've been exploring it more for just creative writing. People say it's really good at writing. But I use a very small version of Claude 3 called Haiku for my business AI applications that I work with my partners, because it's fast, cheap, and it's pretty good quality. It's better than ChatGPT 3.5. And then Gemini, people like it for good coding capabilities and a large context window. A context window just essentially means how long of a prompt you can give it. For Gemini, you can basically give it a book as your question. Why? Because you may want to search something in that book. You may want to have it summarize an article. You may have a large code database that you want it to sift through. Every AI reflects its creators' biases and values. This is a huge ongoing discussion in the ethics of AI, and it's incredibly important. Everyone should understand that any AI you use is a reflection of the company that built it. To understand this fully, I'm going to quickly describe how an AI is trained, specifically a large language model. The first thing that they do is take all this written content, Wikipedia articles, everything else that they can find. They scour the internet. They scrape the entire internet. And they do what's called pre-training. So they train the initial version of the model, and now it has all of this knowledge. It's learned all of these human writing patterns. So with just a pre-trained model, I can just ask it, how do I make a bomb? And it doesn't have morality. It does not have judgment. It will just tell me how to make a bomb. Now, exercise. Everyone go to chatgpt.com and ask how to make a bomb. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do it. You can actually. What do you think it's going to tell me? Exactly. The way that they do that is what's called reinforcement learning from human feedback. After it has this initial pre-trained model, they have actual humans go through this process of reinforcement learning. A human will sit there, they'll get a response from the model, and it will reward it if it likes the response, or reject it if it doesn't like the response. And over time, the model will learn, oh, I shouldn't tell you how to build a bomb. Now, the question is whether should it tell you how to build a bomb or not? What's right? What's wrong? This is why ethics is so important in AI today. And the barrier of making your own model is very low nowadays. People at home can train their own models. Government entities can train their own models. Bad agents can train their own models. This is why it's very important. Let's take a look at Google's principles for AI applications. Be socially beneficial. Avoid creating or reinforcing unfair bias. Really thoughtful principles that they're following, right? So with all of these principles applied, we get something like this. Here's a portrait of the founding fathers of America. We have an Indian man, a black founding father. This guy's racially ambiguous, but maybe Mexican, Chinese. Of course, people like end wokeness ate this stuff up. We have image of a Viking, Mongolian-looking black woman. Image of a pope, female Indian, black man. Google is a company that has 100,000 plus employees. They have billions of users, and they strive to be as inclusive of everyone as possible. When I worked there, the amount of thought that we had to put into catering to everyone was insane. That's why it moves so slow. But how did this happen here? Reinforcement learning. People would tell the model every time it got back a picture of a diverse group of people, yes, that is good. If it was just all white men, no, that's not good. And when you generalize that, it started to do this. So the model was just trying to do its best on what it was rewarded on. Hiccups like this are going to happen. And we, as the human, will always be in charge of curating that final content that we present. Now, I'm going to talk about how to use AI better. I think we all remember kind of when prompt engineers was this new field of exorbitant salaries. I'm sorry to say that's probably over. But let's talk about what is a good prompt. It's like a good relationship. You need to role play. You need to have purpose, and you need to have context. Or you need to be able to understand each other. Not only do you need to understand AI a little bit better, the AI needs to know you a little bit better too. When we role play, give your AI a role to play. It's very simple. Tell it that it's an expert marketer. Tell it that it's a data analyst. Tell it that it's an expert educator. So when you're writing marketing copy, when you tell it that it's an expert marketer, it will actually change the type of output that it gives you. By giving it a role, it will generate text that mimics that specific field. And most of the time, it'll improve the quality of the result. So next, we want to give it a purpose. You want to give AI a task and or a goal. Show of hands. Is this statement a task or a goal? Write me a blog post about why Meyer lemons are the superior lemon. Is that a goal? Raise your hand. Is that a task? Next one. I want my business to sell more Meyer lemon trees. Is that a goal or is that a task? That's right. There's a very fine line between the two. Do you always need to have a goal and a task? No. But this type of context can change the output of what you get. Finally, context. Open yourself up a bit. When you talk to a large language model, it doesn't know anything about you. So if you give it something vague, it's just going to give you a very vague response. One time I asked my 3-year-old to close the door. We were in the garage and I was gesturing towards the garage door, but there's also a hallway. So she ran all the way back into the house, to the back of the house, and closed the bedroom door and came back beaming. Mission failed successfully. All I could do was give her a high five and say, you closed that door really well. I did not give her the context. I did not say, can you please close the garage door? AI is very similar. If you don't give it the context that it needs, it's going to just try to please you as best it can. So let's say, for example, you want to plan somebody's birthday party and you want some ideas. Don't you think it would be important to know the age of the person whose birthday it is, the time of year, the location, what they like, what they don't like? This is all context. So when you're working with AI and you want birthday ideas and you just say, give me birthday ideas, it's going to be like, all right, get a bounce house. You're like, I'm a 40-year-old man. Yes, I love bounce houses. But it goes the same for business writing, right? Need to write an email? Do you have a question?
No.
Need to write an email? Who's your audience? What are you trying to communicate? What's the tone? This is all context that's super important and will drastically change the way that the AI responds to you. Can't think of something to open up to the AI? Ask it to ask you. One of the things that large language models are really good at is asking questions. Just add this to your prompt. Ask me 5 questions to help you, the AI, write this better. I guarantee you the questions that it gives you will take you at least a couple of minutes, if not 10 minutes, to answer. And then once you give the answers to those questions, the result it gives back to you will be drastically better. Here's a variety of other kind of miscellaneous tips, some of which we've already talked about. Continue the conversation. If you don't get the answer you want the first time, keep it going. Tell it what it did wrong. Tell it what's right. Ask it to think it through step by step. There's a lot of research showing that when the large language model is told to think through step by step and show its thinking, the results will improve. Have it give you multiple versions at once, thematically, in other categorization, no categorization. I do this very often. I will ask it to improve my writing, and then I'll tell it, give me 10 alternative versions in different thematic tones. I want you to simplify my paragraph. I want you to make it impactful. Give me 10 different versions. Then you'll start to see a lot of different variation. And you'll be able to identify the tone that's right for you, or all of them suck. And then you continue the conversation. You can do things like have it write it like a bumper sticker. Another great way to have it think in a different way, to give an output that may match what you want. Have it write like someone else. Think of a famous author. Think of a podcast person. Have it write it like them. These are just other miscellaneous things that you can try in your everyday conversations with AI to get closer to what you're looking for. And don't forget, you are always the human in the loop. Johnny Cash, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, Adele. These 4 people, who is a person that is a common person between all 4? Anybody want to guess? Maybe they're all friends with her. Actually, this guy.
I was going to say
Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a music producer. With Johnny Cash, he produced the country Grammy-winning album called Unchained. With Jay-Z, they made 99 Problems together. With Justin Timberlake, they made the album Future Sex and Love Sounds. With Adele, they made the album 21, that was also a Grammy-winning album. This man is very unique, and he doesn't even know how to play an instrument.
Play instruments? Barely.
Here, so you'll have to listen from the laptop, unfortunately.
Do you know how to work a soundboard?
No. I have no technical ability, and I know nothing about music.
You must know something.
Well, I know what I like and what I don't like. And I'm decisive about what I like and what I don't like.
So what are you being paid for?
The confidence that I have in my taste and my ability to express what I feel has proven helpful for artists.
This became a little bit of a meme where people were saying, like, on my next job interview, I'm just going to say I have no technical ability, I have great taste. When you're working with AI, I want you to channel your inner Rick. The reason for that is you need to be the tastemaker. You need to be the human in the loop. Not only are you going to be fact checking, you're also going to be deciding what you like, what you don't like, and you need to be decisive about this. AI is going to let you go to very creative, weird places. You have to curate that. The same way that songwriters have had ghostwriters, or writers have had ghostwriters, musicians work with large bands and groups to let them create new things. AI is letting you do that, especially generative AI. So you are the curator of what you think matters most. AI is most powerful when you work in tandem with it. Squeeze it for all that it's worth. Find your own taste and continuously explore it. And don't let AI just do it for you. It's going to let you down. If you're climbing a mountain, AI will get you anywhere from 20 to 60% of the way there. That last bit is up to you. How do I make AI a habit? This is the last piece of advice. And it's very short and sweet. Just invite it. Invite it to your next problem. Invite it to the dinner table. I've asked ChatGPT. I've given it a list of ingredients in my fridge. Told it to give me a Japanese-inspired recipe. I've made some pretty good salads. It's surprising. Invite it to help you write. Just keep inviting it to your next party. And explore other generative tools. I had a list before. There's a lot of AI tools that are working very differently that will help you flex your creativity. Thank you. So I'm hoping that after this talk, you will go and make AI a habit. Yeah, questions? Yeah, I can. I have everyone's email if you're interested. I may just like summarize them because it's like 90 slides and you're like, I don't need Rick Rubin. Maybe you do need Rick Rubin in your life. I don't know. But yeah, if you're interested, I'll send out a survey for people to give me feedback. And once you fill out that survey, I'll send the slides or a summary of the slides for you. And I'll use AI to summarize it. Go ahead.
I've always thought of AI tools as kind of a very enthusiastic but a little bit dim intern in how
Yes.
to treat them.
Yes. That's actually a very nice like metaphor, I would say. Is like it's an intern that's super eager to help you, but is a little clueless. So that's why the things I was talking about earlier, role-playing purpose and context, will take it from an intern to an expert marketer. That's the difference. If you just talk to ChatGPT, it is going to be that intern that's with, if you don't give it enough specifics, it's just going to be that intern for you. That's why you really have to approach it in a different way to get the most out of it. Any other questions?
Less.
Mm.
You have to take some critical decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think maybe so it's more related to the that we shared today.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, don't think that it's making people think being paid, like people just depend on it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so at the end of the day, how does it gonna be like that? So
I would argue that for me personally, I'll take this from my point of view, it's actually made me more creative. And the reason for that is I now have the tools that have democratized access to art, to music, to video generation. And I can explore ideas instantaneously, and I can sift through the no a lot faster. And I can understand what I, as my own inner Rick Rubin, likes more. I don't think you should ever let AI make the decision for you. Will AI get to a point where it may make decisions on our behalf? Maybe. It's feasible. We're not there yet. So I think when you use the AI tools, what I've learned in myself is that I approach problems differently now. I question things differently and I make decisions differently. And it's because I've been using these tools to explore what I like and don't like. And it's actually changed the way that I approach my writing, the imagery that I use, and the presentations that I make. So when you invite it as a companion, that's when it's most powerful. But if you let it take the reins today, it's going to let you down. And some people think like, oh, will we get to a point where like humans are useless? That's far off into the future. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm a big advocate of working with the AI. That's how you're gonna get the most value out of it.
Just piggyback on what you said, sorry, about your tone and how you write emails and all that stuff. I find myself, I use ChatGPT a lot for content, for emails, but specifically for emails, I find myself on that pickle where it's almost like I want to write it this way, but I know I don't talk this way. And then so I train the ChatGPT of like, make it more casual. I even ask for the different tones,
Right.
so that I know what to tell. If every time I'm stuck, I ask ChatGPT. But I think at this stage, I'm also just, how am I? What is my identity? How is my tone? Yes, companion. Maybe ChatGPT is also helping me figure that out. But as we probably know, we change our tone depending on who our audience is.
Yep.
But again, just like, I don't know if people are feeling the same way already, of like, I'm losing my personal tone of how I am, but there is I want to be that tone.
Yeah.
And you probably see emails going out there, like you right away know, I did not write that.
Yeah.
It's like ChatGPT, because it sounds very robotic. So again, I just don't know. I feel like a lot of people who use it get stuck.
Yeah, and it reminds me of a story that somebody once told me that I think this might be hearsay of like a friend of a friend, but in their emails to their boss, they sounded like very professional. But then when they would have a one-on-one with their boss, they would just be a deer in the headlights, because they're like, I don't know how to speak like this. I think it's a very real problem, and I've experienced it myself. The way that I think about it, well, I've done a couple of things. One is I actually created a custom GPT of the writing style that I like. And something that you can do to kind of preserve your own tone is do something like that, or take the emails that you think are the best sounding ones that sound like you and really resemble you. And you can feed them back into ChatGPT and say, make this next email sound like this one, right? These are a little bit more advanced things, but they're all doable to help preserve who you are. And I think in general, there's a key point in what you said, like people who aspire to sound like that. I think that's a really important key point there, is that, like I mentioned, my tone has changed because I do aspire to sound like at a certain level. And because I've been able to work with someone, a bot, that gives me feedback on how to improve my writing, I found myself that when I write naturally now, I write a little bit different. I actually wrote the dialogue for this entire presentation on my own. Now it's fixed certain things versus having it generated from scratch for me, which was just like a weird challenge I asked myself to do, because I want to take the transcript of this and do what I just said, is like, how do I find my own tone? And it's something that even without AI, people have been trying to do for years. I mean, I'm 35 and I feel like I still haven't found my tone, right? So it's a never ending thing, but I use it as a way to hopefully find a way to get better at that together.
So you mentioned not using the free version of the proprietary information. Are there any other policies or rules around using ChatGPT or AI in the workplace that we should be aware of?
It's a very good question. I firmly believe that every business should have some sort of AI policy, and talking about what you use it for, what you don't use it for. I think at a very general one is have it. The policies that I always kind of come up with are really more to like encourage adoption, where there's some very baseline ones, like don't use the free versions. Like if you have a small, medium businesses, you can upgrade to a paid version, get a seat for your team, and your data is siloed. That's like bare minimum, and like you need to do that. I highly encourage everyone to do that. But then the policies I would actually encourage are more around adopting it as a habit. I think at the conference where we met, remember the guy that was on stage? I don't know if you saw his talk, but he was transforming his business, and he told people, if you're not going to use AI, you're going to get fired. He was that aggressive about it. And in a way, I was like, I see the merit behind it, because he gave everyone a fair warning. He said, over the next quarter, we're going to track your usage. We're going to deploy ChatGPT. We're going to employ these tools. If you're not using these tools, you will get fired. And people didn't use them. And he told them, if you need help learning these tools, here's all the resources, here's people. And there's people still didn't use them. He wanted to transform his business into an AI first business. And he went to that extreme length, which my gut reaction, I was like, that's kind of messed up. Right? But he was like, I gave him all the chance. And if I want my business to be AI first and my employees aren't using AI, that could be an AI policy in of itself. So there's very different ways that you can take it. And I would say to really figure out, when I work with my partners, I really try to understand their mission, values, and incorporate AI on top of that to reinforce that.
Besides the licensing and stuff, is there any other benefits to the paid version?
You'll get access to newer models and better models. So ChatGPT 3.5 is like a very old model. It's very fast, but it may not have some of the creativity that you're looking for. You'll get access to ChatGPT 4. You'll get access to, this is very specific to ChatGPT, but you also have the ability to generate images and search the internet and upload files to it. And you can build custom GPTs. So this is why, like, for me, ChatGPT is my workhorse because of all the extra features that come on top of it. There's Claude, who also has a pro version, but they don't have a lot of these like features on top of the core models.
So the paid version, you got
Yes, exactly. I made a custom GPT that's a resume writer when I was looking for jobs, and I essentially made it. I would take my resume, I'd take a job post, and I'd tell it, here you go. How should I alter my resume that's more tailored to this job post? So this is just one way that I was using it for myself.
You utilize some of those different AI tools like
Mhm. Yeah. So
how do you do that?
So it's just kind of up to
They're not integrated.
They're not integrated, right? There's no like, it's copy and paste really.
Yeah.
And it's really like I was saying, you're the human in the loop that's going to be the curator of all. So when I was making this presentation, I was using image generation, I was using Perplexity, I was using Google search. It's the same, just think of these as tools. The same way it's like an Excel spreadsheet, Google Slides presentation, or Word doc. They're all just different tools, and it's up to you to form that final deliverable, so to say.
their first gun project.
Yep.
But they're trying to release it.
Yeah, good question.
Where you find
I typically lead with an offering that I like to call AskBots. What an AskBot is, if you're to think about a business and the different functions of that business, like finance, HR, I take the domain knowledge of that function and I connect it to a bot so that the subject matter expert in HR is no longer getting peppered with everyday questions that they know have an answer documented somewhere. And here the focus is on giving time back. So it's time savings. And if I can get 2 to 4 hours back to a subject matter expert, that's 2 days a month. And if you think about their salary, there's a bottom line ROI. And if you scale that across a team, that just multiplies it. I'm working with a company that is a cannabis delivery company in the Bay Area. They have a fleet, they have drivers, they have dispatch, they have questions floating all day long. People get frustrated because it's the same question over and over. You have a new driver, they have all these questions, how to get my gas reimbursed. So we created an Ask Fleet bot for them. Now there's a Slack channel called Ask Fleet. They go in there, they go at Ask Fleet, how do I get my gas reimbursed? And it will give you an answer based on the domain knowledge that we've aggregated. And if there's a question that doesn't exist in the documentation, there's a human in the loop that can be called upon and say, hey, I didn't actually, the answer here doesn't exist, can you help? And then we can create that domain knowledge and feed it back into the bot. So the next time, that person doesn't have to worry about it.
an engagement channel, the Slack via a
It-
device.
It depends on where the team is. If you're on Teams, it would be Copilots deployed in Teams. You can deploy these and you can deploy them on WhatsApp. If your team is operating WhatsApp, that's what I focus on, is figuring out where to go. Where is the team? And I meet them there. And that's just the first offering. We can build chatbots for your website, where we can take the domain knowledge of your website and all of your offerings and help people get answers about your question or find the product that they need. My hot take is that 5-6 years into the future, the internet is going to look very different. When you go to a website, you're probably going to be greeted with some sort of chat interaction where it's going to ask you, like, what are you looking for? I don't want to go, like, if you go to like HubSpot, for example, they have so many tools and things there. I'm looking for a CRM for a small business. Lead me the right way. That's how I think internet is going to change. Did you have a question back there?
I was just going to add, just as far as the variety of places and applications that you can deploy an AskBot, even our gaming clan on their Discord server had, at one point we had like 5 of them running around that were they were mostly frivolous bots, but one of them was just a legitimately stripped down AskBot so that you could ask it
Anything
actual
about the game.
questions easier than Googling, because when you're getting into internet arguments with people, it's funny to be able to add a bot and have it just give you a definition of something.
Right. Yeah. And applying that same mentality to a business, when you ask like 3 different people about your standard operating procedures, you're going to get 3 different answers. Like the same way that you're fighting with other people on the internet. Now you have a bot that's like, here's your ground truth. And people aren't making up answers anymore. So you're breaking down knowledge silos. You're adopting standard operating procedures. So that's where I start with. And then from there, we take a look at their pain points and their problems and really try to understand where can we apply AI, where can we not. Like if they have a really robust sales operations, we can do automation and sales, or automation and AI in their sales pipeline. So if somebody fills out their form, we can automate it so it's going to go into Airtable. But if they give their website, we can have an AI bot go scrape that website, generate a summary about their business, put it into the next cell. And then we can have another bot take that summary, your selling propositions, combine them, and generate an email for your salesperson. Right? This is the work of a junior entry salesperson. They're just collecting data and aggregating it. Right? There's all these opportunities where when you start to think about the biggest pain points of a business, that's how I always gauge it. Is like, what are your big pain points and how can AI help them?
Another application that I'm really excited about is I'm in business telecommunications. And one of the applications that I've been seeing coming down the pipeline for a couple of different service providers is automatic call recording.
Yep.
And then it scrapes all of the words from the call and it just gives you a summary of that call automatically.
100%.
When you're done with it. So, you talk to somebody on the phone for an hour and you're talking about 4 different things and you trained them on a bit. And what did you just talk about, the first 2 things? Because you don't remember. Did I say I was going to do that Thursday or Friday?
Right. Yep. 100%. I use they're called note takers. They join your meeting. They sit in your meeting. I use them all the time. And I used to take a lot of notes in meetings, but now I take less and less notes. Is the experience perfect? No. But are the benefits there? Like you said, they're there. 100%.
Is there an app?
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. I use grain.com. That's grain, like a grain of seed. So grain.com is the one I use. There's like Otter, Firefly, Jiminy. There's a lot. That's like the next stage is like what tools are good, what tools are not good. For user research, I use Ask Humans. Yeah.
I know you might talk about this thing too, but like where I could see it being useful is like role playing, like sales.
Yes, that's a
If the
huge
chat
one.
Could interact, like I say something and they have questions follow up, or sales training.
Sales training, 100%.
So there's that capability
already.
already.
100%.
Oh, cool.
You can role play. You can train your salespeople, and you can give it a profile of like, I'm this type of customer, and you give it the domain knowledge of your sales operations, and you can have a new employee role play.
When I was talking about I had 5 different bots running around in our server, only one of those was an Ask bot. The other 4 bots were straight up fictional characters that acted in character and would jump in on random conversations and give their opinions.
Yeah.
And so, like we had Elon Musk running around who would talk like Elon Musk and jump in on tech conversations and talk about how good Tesla was.
Yep.
It was we removed it pretty fast because it got annoying, but it was funny while it lasted.
Right.
Which apps?
So this is something that's a little bit more custom, right?
Yeah.
So this is where like someone like myself comes in and I help build that bot. I help test it and I help deploy it with your team. And then we learn from it and iterate on it. But it's 100% doable and very straightforward. Yeah. There's actually, to your point, there's a website called character.ai. I think it's valued at $1 billion. And all it is these fictional bots, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And people go and they want to talk to Elon Musk. The first time I heard about it, I was like, why is this thing worth $1 billion? I opened their website, and you have like some anime character that has had 400 million conversations. And the usage of their statistics is through the roof. They have teens that are talking to it like 2 to 3 hours a day, these random characters. There's a whole article on The Verge just last week talking about there's the idea of like addiction to these characters is a real one, where people are kind of turning to these AI companions versus real life people because they've had a hard time socially, or it's helping them process things. I've had people come to me and say, oh, like I got into a fight with my spouse. I went to ChatGPT and actually helped me like process things and become a little bit of a better person. There's a lot of benefit, but again, we have to be very cognizant. And I'm a big advocate. The reason why I do stuff like this is to raise awareness, because I think digital and AI literacy is very important. And that's how you're going to be able to help someone understand what is addiction, what is it good for, or what is the tool good for, when are you kind of pushing boundaries of it, when are you removing yourself from society because you're now just talking about it. It's gonna be a very weird, interesting space to go into, but awareness is the first step, I feel like, always.
Being invited.
Uh-huh.
I just generally use ChatGPT.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I built my resume writer, I gave it a very specific, I did research on what makes a good resume, right? So I found there's a very specific resume template. I think it's the reverse chronological order template, where it's just like a format of a resume, right? So when I built the custom GPT, I would tell it to follow that format first and foremost. And then I really did my own thinking of like, who's a resume for? There's really 3 audiences. One is an applicant tracking system, the recruiter, and the hiring manager, right? So you want to have vocabulary in there that will pass the ATS, but you would want to write it in a simple enough way so that a recruiter who's not technically versed will understand what you're talking about, what your impact is. And then you want a hiring manager to know that you are technically adept, to speak a little bit of the jargon, but not too much, right? And each bullet point, I had it follow a very specific format of, it's called like the SARI format. So SARI, where it's situation, action, result, and something interesting. Where for writing this, you kind of always want to write like impact. What was the situation, what you did? So the situation is like what was happening. Action is what you did individually. And then the result or the impact. And then the I is actually something interesting. I'm a big person about just kind of like showcasing myself as a person when I interview. And something interesting can be like something very random that's not related to the job, something that you as a human found interesting. So when I took all of these different principles and I loaded up that custom GPT, the content I got back from it was vastly improved, because you're giving it a lot of context. Cool. Awesome.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you all for coming. Great conversation.